Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Franchise Euphoria. Josh Brown here. Today's episode is brought to you by Franchise 5. Why Franchise 5? I'm glad you asked. Growing your franchise in a slow, deliberate, and thoughtful manner is a smart way to grow. Franchise 5 helps you do this by expanding 5 locations at a time with a Zen-like focus on the geographic locations that make sense for your growth. To learn more about this, go to franchiseeuphoria.com/franchise5. That's the number 5. So franchiseeuphoria.com/franchise5. Now to today's episode. Today I'm super pumped. I've got a client of mine, a friend, and a franchise on that I interview. His name's Jason Markowicz. He's the founder and CEO of Fitness Premier 24/7. A fitness club franchise that offers a variety of specialty classes to help individuals achieve their fitness goals. Jason got his start in the fitness industry with his first job out of college at a health club chain where he gained practical business experience opening and operating fitness facilities. When the opportunity was presented to both own and operate the 5th location his boss was franchising, Jason and his wife Kelly jumped on it. During the next few years, Jason owned and operated health clubs that had state-of-the-art equipment, comfortable environment, and a great price point. The locations were successful. The constant turnover in membership really bothered him. Fitness Premier 24/7 was conceived to address that issue. Jason created a model that had all the great features of traditional clubs, but with a focus on results-oriented, individual success plans, and tailored to help clients reach their fitness goals. Additionally, Jason leads Fitness Premier's One Team, One Dream mastermind group with all key leaders within the company. Really excited to have Jason on. First of all, I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years and really impressed not only with his business acumen, but with his drive and with his strategic thinking and with how he and his team have really started to grow their Fitness Premier franchise. I think you'll really enjoy this episode. I think you'll get a lot of good insight of what it takes to really take a franchise, and once you've turned your business into a franchise, how you go through the process of trying to grow it, but growing it the right way. Here's my interview with Jason Markowicz, founder and CEO of Fitness Premier 24/7. Hello, Jason. Welcome to Franchise Euphoria. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, I'm thrilled to have someone like yourself who's been a part of a growing franchise business, Fitness Premier, and also has had experience on the franchisee side of things as well, and just general business experience. So I'm excited to have you share a little bit of, I guess, your journey along this path. But before we jump into all that, how did you get into the fitness business in the first place?
Great question. When I grew up very active in sports throughout my whole life, and I was fortunate to play a little football in college. So, graduating from St. Xavier University, I was really just looking for a job. I got a degree in business and was just looking for my first job out of school. And I had fortunate timing. I actually went to college with a cousin, a gentleman who started the first kind of EFT-based fitness concept in the Midwest back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I just got a job there out of school and just organically learned the business, helped pre-sell a couple of locations. It was a neat concept. It was the first really affordable EFT-based membership model back then of its time, and the first day at the Chicago market for sure. So got a job at the Shorewood location, and we've really been just kind of growing it ever since. And the 5th location.
What's EFT mean?
EFT is electronic funds transfer. So in the late 90s, most health clubs back then were doing paid in full memberships, and not a lot of concepts were applying the automatic recurring revenue model to the health club business. So it started catching wind really in the late 90s, early 2000s, and there was nothing in the Chicagoland area that was doing that. So it enables you to really get a consistent revenue stream of revenue coming in.
Well, it's huge, right? I mean, it's huge. I can't imagine a gym that doesn't do that at this point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You'll still come across a couple concepts out there that are maybe a little bit outdated in their thinking and still promoting paid in fulls for whatever reason. But yeah, 90% of your concepts are doing that these days for sure.
And so you were part of that system when they first transitioned to that?
Yeah, so the first location, and at one point we grew it to about 40, 45 locations. And it kind of started as a family operated business. My partner now, the founder, John Dellenhorst, who started, had a lot of brothers and sisters in the market. So my wife and I were the first non-family member to get some ownership in a location back in 2002, and really from that experience, we've kind of been snowballing ever since, because kind of learning as we go and applying new ways of thinking and tweaking the business model over the last 15, 16, 17 years.
Now, so you were franchisees at that point?
You know what? It was it was a privately held company, so it wasn't a traditional franchise system, but we were privately, just a private company where every location kind of operated on its own, but under one consistent brand and name. So, we informally abided by a informal set of rules and guidelines and parameters, and worked together, like I said, to grow to about 40, 45 locations. So, through that experience, I learned what do we need to make more consistent, what needs to be more clear, and that's obviously what attracted us to some of the franchise concepts.
So talk to me about that in the fitness world. Obviously, there's a lot of fitness businesses, not just franchises, but just fitness locations. Tell me, when you were working in those early days and you're working sort of in the business and trying to make things better, trying to make things more efficient, what were some of the consistent issues that you were having to deal with?
I think one of the things we saw early on is that our members and our clients were looking for a little more than just a clean and friendly facility. We had that. We had a very clean and friendly environment. But we quickly learned that customers, they wanted, and they needed more to be successful in fitness in particular, because it's traditionally, it's not very convenient. It's not very fun sometimes. It's hard work.
Yeah, who the hell likes to work out, Jason? I
That's a
mean,
great
seriously.
question. It's not fun all the time, but it's an important part of life. It's an important part of feeling better, mentally and emotionally, and it covers all aspects of health. So we try to put together some programs that really made it more fun, made it more attractive, made it easier to teach customers as they're coming through how to pick up and start a fitness program, how to stick with it, and just create incentives along the way. So that's probably the biggest thing that we learned going through that is, anybody can charge a set rate and have equipment and do those sort of things. But the programming part of it is something we like to spend a lot of time and thinking outside the box on.
Well, and to me, that's a big value add because, like you said, I mean, anybody can, throw some equipment in a gym and, basically have you run the card as you go in and out of there. It was funny because I think I read a statistic somewhere that a lot of these gyms that essentially are just a big space with equipment and they don't do anything else, they really bank on the fact that, something like 60 to 80% of their people at various times during the year don't use it. In fact, if all of their people actually use the gym, if all of their members actually use it, there wouldn't be enough space in the gym. But they bank on the fact that a lot
Yeah.
of people are just going to sign up and
Yeah,
never
yeah,
come.
no, it
I mean, that
is,
was
and it's
amazing to
it's
me.
obviously a little bit backwards, that way of thinking of not encouraging your customers to utilize the facility. So we try to invert that, and our target market is a little bit kind of smaller to mid-sized markets where we typically can get in there and build a nice location and just make it fun and encourage people to come and utilize the facility.
Yeah, so you take that early on experience where you're working, you're looking to model, you kind of helped grow that system, and then let's flash forward a little bit. Now you get to Fitness Premier. Tell me about Fitness Premier. When did it start?
Yeah, so Fitness Mirror started back in about 2006, 2007. We did some locations, really all through the Midwest and Mid South. We were in various states, and we learned a lot of good experience. So we really started to, kind of take the concepts of our previous model and take what worked really well, which is affordable membership pricing, clean, friendly, convenient locations, but then really focus hard on applying some programming and some services that made it fun for the members, helped them get better results, and ultimately added a lot of profitability to each location, so that we're not so reliant just on health club membership revenue. So we did that from about 2006 to 2012, and now we've really focused regionally here in Central Illinois and the South Chicagoland area of really really growing as quickly as we can create and find and attract good leadership is really our growth pace at this point.
Because you guys like to focus on, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys like to focus on sort of going into smaller towns or smaller areas and helping to provide a really good option for a nice, clean, well-maintained fitness club that also helps provide people with those extra benefits that you had talked about, helping them achieve the results that they want, putting together successful, individual plans and sort of tailoring the experience to the individuals. Is that the plan for Fitness Premier?
It is, yeah, it is. We see a lot of opportunity in the, I guess the West, underserved, smaller communities. The average population in our clubs is between 10 and 15,000 people in our locations, and we find a lot of opportunity there because typically there's not a great fitness offering in town. So we can do a nice job of obviously building our clubs, putting good leadership in place, and then ultimately integrating the members so that they feel a part of the club. We try to really focus on being a part of that community and putting together a good customized plan that'll help them stick with their fitness routine, for years and years to come. It's definitely more about relationship building than it is just selling a key, that commodity.
So not too long ago, you decided to franchise that concept, and in full disclosure, I had a helping hand in that, and been working with you. But I'd love for you to tell the people who are listening, because there's people out there who are contemplating, whether or not A, they should buy into a franchise, or B, whether they should turn their business into a franchise. So talk a little bit about what sort of things you considered, you contemplated before you made the decision to franchise your business.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we looked at the pros and cons of taking a commitment to go through the formal process of the legal part that we went through with you, Josh, of the cost of doing that and the branding, and ultimately, we kind of looked at all scenarios, and being in business for almost 20 years now, you go through enough challenges time and time again. You at some point, we're not the smartest groups in the world, but you learn from those mistakes, and you try to make adjustments that overall serve the brand as a whole. So, we wanted to create something that was special, that we could really make a career for our team members. So that's kind of how the original thought process started. So once we got comfortable with, going through the legal work of putting together the FTD and we committed some resources to rebranding, kind of the look and the feel inside and outside the club. So those were probably the two big cost factors that we considered. But once we agreed to do that, it was really about creating opportunities for our key leadership team. Because within our model, we could only pay general managers of the facilities, so much at the end of the day. And when you hit challenges of managers turning over, you want to come up with a way that you can create some long-term consistency in the brand, especially in each individual location. So, franchising for us was kind of that step to be able to do that, to take our concept, and we felt really good about the scalability of it, and a lot of the systems we had in place were spot on. So we feel good there. So it was about taking that plunge and creating those opportunities for the management team so they can have the opportunity to own their own location, make a great wage, and have a lot of fun doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and you guys were in business for what, 8 or 9 years before you decided to franchise?
Yeah, we were. I think we set it up in 2016, and our first locations opened in 2006, 2007 under the Fitness Premier brand. You bet.
Well, I think that's an important point to underscore, because there's a lot of people who want to open up they open up their business, they have some success, some moderate success, and then all of a sudden they want to jump right in to the franchise model. But I think it's important to take the time to figure out your system first and to fine tune things like you guys did over the course of almost a decade, right? Where you've got multiple locations at that point, and so you can work through all of the challenges that come along with having multiple locations and growing a brand before you decide to go into the franchise model.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no doubt about it. I think you want to be able to, kind of vet through and learn from your own experiences before you, franchise it and put the business model in a box, for lack of a better analogy, for others to take it and run with it. So I feel pretty good that we were able to do that over the past decade for sure.
So tell me some of the challenges as a fitness place, right? You have a lot of competition. You have a lot of different business models out there, and not only just in the physical fitness places, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but also just people who are doing it at their house, people who are doing it through online streaming programs, anything like that. How do you guys compete, and then how do you differentiate your model from the others?
No, that's a great question. And we're fitness promoters, so we're promoters of all types of fitness, obviously. So for us, we focus on keeping our locations very family orientated, family friendly. We truly do welcome everybody. We take kids as young as 12, and we have obviously a nice senior citizen program that we have in each location that we offer specific classes for. So that's the first step: keeping it affordable, making it convenient, and then at the end of the day, making it fun. So we try to really focus on the way I refer to our business model, it's kind of a hybrid fitness offering where we have your traditional health club offerings that you'll find at any gym across the country, with affordable pricing and a great facility and great people. but then also having some really strong and fun and programming, whether it's our virtual group X classes or our team training program or personal training or our nutrition offering that help educate the members and clients so that they keep coming over time. So for us, it's, we don't get everybody in the community, but we do the best we can of getting a shot and just making it, comfortable, fun, and convenient to come give us a try.
So if somebody's listening, or if you had to identify what would make a good franchisee for the Fitness Premier, what are some of the qualifications that you guys are looking for in a prospective franchisee?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something that we're definitely focused on right now. Is just kind of identifying those key players and making sure it's a good fit for the culture. So it's somebody who's passionate about people. You got to be a people person to be in this business because we see numerous different types of people on a daily basis, and ultimately we're the ambassador for fitness. So you got to really enjoy working with people and have a passion for what we're doing. So that's probably the most important thing. You got to I think have a good set of leadership skills. Our locations are really successful based on local leadership presence of leading their teams and driving sales and profitability, but also having a good blend of compassion that can build a team that can service clients, that can be empathetic, that can have an open ear, that can help clients work through the challenges they're having with their fitness journey. So, it's somebody who's, can kind of take all that and wrap it up and just have that strong leadership presence in a location.
Now, is your model an owner operator type model where the owner's going to be at the location, or is it more akin to once the owner gets a good sense of how the system works, they have a management team in place that's going to focus more on the locations?
Yeah, you know what? We have both. We have both to answer your question. I mean, it's definitely if we have some that operate single units as an owner operator that have a presence in location, and that's their ultimate goal, which is great, which is one way. And we have a partnership of a franchisee group that owns 3 of our locations that, they can't be at each one of those locations every day, but they have good management and leadership within their facilities that help drive the experience. So we try to make it scalable. So based on, the franchisee's goals and intention, they can kind of craft their plan accordingly. The most important thing is if they're not going to be present in location and be kind of semi-absentee, that they have a really strong management team in place. And our recommendation would be have that manager be vested through some type of profit share or equity earn type of position to ultimately tie them into the brand for longevity.
What type of training do you guys provide to the franchisees to kind of help them get going, to help them understand the brand a little bit, help them understand the processes before they open?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we do a full 5-day training at our office here in Manteno, Illinois, that orientates them from everything from our back office operations to sales to service to all the systems we provide. So it's a full 5-day, 40-hour week franchisee orientation. And in conjunction to that, we do 2-hour training sessions on a weekly basis. Every Wednesday from noon to 2, we do ongoing training supporting sales, service, and leadership. So that's also another opportunity they can either plug into live at our office in Manteno or virtually through a program where we host those sessions and then we share them out to the network. And then in addition to that, we do monthly head of state meetings, is what we call them, that the franchisees can plug into with their team, again, either remotely or live, where we cover a lot of business metrics and a lot of upcoming marketing campaigns. And so we try to keep the culture pretty tight to where the communication's just, rock solid and it's consistent and everybody's, communicating very well at the end of the day.
Well, I was going to say is, well, I really like, I think it's a smart model from the perspective of really focusing in on particular geographic areas, smaller towns and so forth, as opposed to just throwing it in any big city and just trying to compete against everyone else. But I also think it's smart because I think you can tailor the offerings better to the individuals. I mean, you can get a really good sense of what the people want in that community, and you can tailor it to that community. And so somebody who is, a person within one of those communities that maybe has lived there their whole life, or maybe has a tie there, or, is a professional of some sort who knows a lot of people. I mean, that seems to be, that might be a good prospect, right, for somebody to come in who has a tie to that community and who can help obviously promote that brand and promote the business throughout the location.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. Being in smaller communities, we're able to focus on less members, the service so we can spend more time with each member. And ultimately, we do end up with a lot of ambassadors at each location. We have some good relationships. So internal interest for future locations or future growth is definitely something that we feel we're getting some momentum on, and it'll be a focus for us moving forward for sure.
So if you want to learn more about Fitness Premier franchise, go to fitnesspremierclubs.com. That's fitness and then premier, Premier clubs.com. Jason, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. You've shared a lot of good information. Is there any other contact information or any other information you want to provide before we say goodbye?
You know what? The website's great. My direct email is jmarkowicz, JMarkowicz @fitnesspremierclubs.com. And Josh, I appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, fantastic. Best of luck to you in the future. I know you got a real great, vibrant, interesting concept. So I know you're going to have a lot of success in the future. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us today on the Franchise Euphoria podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go to iTunes and provide a review. Also, please remember that although Josh Brown is a licensed and practicing attorney, nothing contained in this podcast should be construed as legal advice, because it is not. The information contained in this podcast is general and educational in nature, and none of it should be relied upon as legal advice. That being said, if you have questions for Josh and would like to contact him, please email him at josh@franchiseeuphoria.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you tune in to our next weekly episode.